the clutch there. Or if I did, barely. Not enough to kill it. Reverse, I felt like that is how it's supposed to be, and that it will only run like that for approximately 30 minutes of ride time. It will only run that smooth, so it will it takes about 5-10 minutes for it to warm up, kind of get clear out whatever that was in the beginning, clear that out, and then it will run good for about, you know, the last 30 minutes or 30 minutes of the ride time. And then after 30 minutes, the rest of the ride just consecutively gets worse. And I'd say about 2 hours into the ride, so it does what it was doing at the very first of the video. That's what it does. Anytime I ride it past like 35-40 minutes, the first 5 or 10 minutes will be it running crappy, like it was there in the first video. Then it will clear up for roughly 30 minutes to an hour, maybe an hour and a half, but generally like roughly 30 minutes it will run that clean. And then anything after that hour, 30 minutes, whatever it is, just consistently gets worse until the end of the ride. And like at the end of the ride, I won't even be able to pull this onto the trailer hardly. I'll be revving it to like 7, 8, 9,000 RPMs, slipping the clutch to try and get it to pull onto the trailer. And at that point, it won't even be able to idle like in neutral, just for any length of time. Last night, I literally would have to press down the gas as I'm starting it, and then, you know, feather the throttle in order for it to even start and stay running. And I'd have to sit there and feather the throttle, you know, for it to maintain running. And even then, it was sometimes difficult. But yeah, like it wants to die. It feels like it's just constantly wanting to die. It's starving for either air or gas at some point. So anyways, hopefully this helps. But there at the end, like that last reverse that I did, I feel like that's how it should run, and that's how my buddy's GYTR Turbo yxz runs. I drove it this morning, and it runs like that all the time. You know, it takes maybe 5-10 minutes to warm up, kind of like mine does, but not nearly as bad. You know, and all yxz's, from what I hear, you know, are a little cold-natured, like a lot of sport vehicles. But anytime after that warm-up period, his runs flawlessly. I drove it, it's night and day, the comparison. Also, like during my ride, it will, especially like most of my ride time, a lot of times once I get rolling, once I get moving past like 5,000 RPMs, it will run awesome. Once I get out of the crappy rough idling and actually get into throttle, sometimes it'll be, and then it will grab and go. But once I kind of get into the throttle real aggressively, it will run fantastically. It's very fast, full power, you know, as fast, if not faster, than my buddy's yxz that I drove this morning. So whatever it is, once it gets going, it's fine. But yeah, hopefully this helps. I don't know how to explain it other than that. It just feels like once I've been into the throttle, off and on, like on a regular like trail riding day, it just, after like 30 minutes or so, it gets significantly worse. I never feel like it does not let me bog really at any time. Like, it's very, very unhappy, from a running standpoint, above 3,000 RPMs typically, which I know that's somewhat normal with the YXZs to kind of struggle at, they like the higher RPMs, but I feel like this is a lot different than my buddies that I was driving this morning and was able to, lug it at, 2,000 RPMs. Yeah, it doesn't have any power, but it's not dying at that RPM. My AFR gauge, I do have the block off plates, so that AFR should be very accurate. It has it's just been calibrated, so it's good. I just installed that. I notice when it's struggling, when it really is doing that thing where it's wanting to die, and when it kind of has that flutter, the AFR goes to 20 plus, sometimes as much as like 27. So it's some sort of misfire. Other than that, I'm really struggling to figure it out. I know I did take it to the dealership. They said that they put it on a reader of some sort, and one of the injectors was clogged, and they said that they modified the amount of fuel that injector was getting and increased it by a certain percentage, and it started, clearing it out. So they ended up replacing that injector under warranty. And that seemed to take care of it for a little while, or definitely made it better. But then I've ridden it like one full day, and then, I've taken a few people on rides. But now it's back to doing the same exact thing it was. So I don't know if that means anything. But that's all I know up to this point. It is also crackling and popping, which they said the block off plates should help and like almost eliminate that entirely. Maybe a few pops here and there, but it crackles and pops just as much after doing the block off plates, and it's typically crackling and popping like as it's fluttering, like when the engine's like struggling. That's when it's doing a lot of the popping and crackling and whatnot. So I think that's just even more indication of the lean conditions. But I have a mechanic buddy that owns a shop over in Hillsboro, and he said that the exhaust fumes just smell very, very rich, which doesn't really make any sense because the AFR says that it's running really lean. But I do agree with him. I even went back and like kind of smelled his YXZ fumes versus mine, and you can definitely tell the presence of fuel in mine. So there's that. That I think is the only thing that I know. It does have the Alba tune on it currently. The Alba tune really kind of made it a little more pronounced, if anything. So I don't know what that means. I do have a performance exhaust on here. It did this from the factory new with factory conditions. So anyways, that's all I know.